Left of the box. So, in Ontarian news, I haven't dug too deep on it, so I decided to get some things together and we'll kind of learn a little bit more on it together. Where there is a thing here called the Science Center, and it is a science center. I've been to it many times when I was a kid. Like, pretty much if you live within 3 hours drive to Toronto, there's a school trip you've been on a couple times to the Science Center. And it's a really neat place. I think I even went there once as an adult because why not? I'm a nerd. And, like, it has the electric static ball where your hair can go up, and demonstrations and all these interactive places that you can go and just learn really neat stuff. And it's been like a tourist destination in Ontario. It's also provincially funded, and that funding has gone. And it's been in disrepair. And Ontario Place was another kind of landmark in Ontario, also in Toronto. It had the Cinesphere. The Cinesphere was like a big round building that had a movie theater in it, but the screen was like 3 stories tall. And they would have big events there. They had a water park there, a nice touristy place to go, fun, right on the edge of the lake. Been there plenty of times, both as a kid and as an adult. And yeah, again, if you live within 3 hours of Toronto, you most likely had gone there as a kid for a school field trip or a camping trip or something of that sort. Also, severely underfunded and in need of repair. So what does Doug Ford do? He's like, okay, let's have a contract for millions and millions and millions of dollars to get rid of Ontario Place and put in a new landmark, which is a luxury spa. And this includes, I kid you not, paving over part of Lake Ontario. And then there's going to be this huge parking lot there, and on top of the parking lot will be a new science center, half the size of the current one, and cost millions of dollars to relocate. So instead of spending the money to actually upgrade and repair the current one, he just wants to get rid of it completely and give all of this money to his buddies. So let's look a little bit more into this, shall we? T.Resident, if you're in Ontario, is a fabulous Twitter account to follow. Always on top of a lot of the Doug Ford shenanigans, and is really good at digging up old videos and things of that sort. Unofficial contributor to my channel, basically, at this point, with how much I use their stuff. It was you and Infrastructure Ontario who refused to do the required maintenance, talking about the Science Centre. And so Kinga Suma here is a member of Provincial Parliament of Etobicoke Centre on Ontario's Minister of Infrastructure. Not surprising, Conservative. And she says it is no surprise to see the opposition stand in the way of the new Science Centre and rebuilt Ontario Place. If they had their way, the Science Centre and Ontario Place would continue to be neglected and fall further into disrepair. And as T.Resident pointed out, they're being neglected and falling into disrepair because of the intentional underfunding from the government. That's her job. That's kind of what the Minister of Infrastructure should be looking after. But let's see what she has to say about it. Maybe she will change my mind.
Minister of Infrastructure can reply.
Mr. Speaker, why is the member opposite disrespecting Ontarians?
Exactly.
By standing in the way of us building a new science centre that will be enjoyed for another 50 to 75 years.
There is nothing wrong with the old Science Center. It just needed to be repaired and probably updated. But it's a big building, had lots of room, parking. Again, I'm not against tearing down some things and building new, but when we're talking about the amount of money it takes to rebuild a tourist attraction like that, it makes no sense. Why not just renovate and update the one you already have. Oh, right, because of all the corruption and the dealings with all of his buddies and things of that sort.
In fact, the member opposite, you know what he would like? He would like the Science Centre, like Ontario Place, to just fall apart so that it ends up being closed. But we will not do that because we believe in science education.
That's so bizarre to hear conservatives say that they believe in science and education. Well, considering how badly Doug Ford is underfunding education here in Ontario and how much science denialism the conservatives do, it's funny how they only bring this up when they think it serves their point.
As does the Minister of Education.
Order.
But again, Mr. Speaker, not to worry, under the Premier's leadership, we will have a brand new Science Centre with more exhibition space for families to enjoy and a brand new Ontario Place.
Yeah, and here's the picture of the brand new Ontario Place. And she also says, our government is taking action to create a new science centre, an iconic Ontario Place that will be enjoyed by all, not only a few. Oh, and Joy Henderson, another reliable source I find on Twitter. I mean, you could just properly fund the Science Centre so it could take care of the repairs. And so more from T-Dot resident, you can't make this up. Kinga Sama and Doug Ford are spending at least $650 million and bulldozing 800 trees to help build an indoor immersive experience where the Therm Spa will charge you to see video clips of trees. Okay, who gets a Soylent Green vibe from this? I do. I so get a Soylent Green vibe from this. But are you kidding me? This is taxpayer money, and a lot of this is just going to line the pockets of his corporate buddies. That's all this is. It's a money grab. Because if they weren't so invested on making money for their rich buddies, then why wouldn't they just renovate what's already existing? Oh, because that doesn't generate enough revenue and income and profit for his rich friends. That doesn't do what he wants. Let's see what this immersive experience is like. I don't know if there's music playing. Just turn that off just in case, you never know. Ooh, you can lay back and look at pictures of trees. Ontario has so many provincial parks, and personally, I would feel very uncomfortable here. What normal person is going to a spa like this, where you're lying in a room with a whole bunch of other people in your underwear, looking up at round screens of a tree? Who would do this? What normal person would do this? I don't understand. This is just so weird. And how clean is that? Currently, Ontario Place has a charming water park designed for families. I remember it as a kid. Had a lot of fun there. I don't get it. And so they also uncovered this information here. So Niagara Falls Great Wolf Lodge, 500,000 visitors per year. New Cornwall Great Wolf Lodge projections, 670,000 visitors per year. Therm Bucharest, is that how you say that? I don't know. 1 million visitors per year. First 4 years. Therm Ontario Place projection, 5 million visitors per year. So this is in a different country, I guess. First 4 years. So 1 million visitors per year in the first 4 years. But Therm Ontario Place projections, 5 million visitors per year. The population of Ontario is only about 15 million, I think. Is that what it is? I think it's about that. Oh, I was a little under, or over, I mean. It's around 13 million right now. 13, 14 million? And they're projecting 5 million visitors a year? I get that some of them would be coming from outside of the province, one would hope. But it's like you're expecting like a third of the province to go there or something. Like it's just. And so Fall Family Friendly Lodge wins Major Tourism Award, and that's the 500 guests per each year. And so that's the Great Wolf Lodge in Niagara Falls. The company has already reached, and this is, so this is TDOT resident showing their sources. The company has already reached an agreement with the city of Cornwall to purchase 40 acres in the Cornwall Business Park, with construction expected to begin during the next 2 years and taking about 2 years. And down, let's go here. As the largest chain of indoor water parks resorts in North America, the project is projected to attract 670,000 visitors annually, with the majority coming from outside Ontario. Therm Group, Therm Bucharest attracted 4 million visitors in 4 years, so that's 1 million a year. And the Therm Complex would be the first ticketed attraction to operate on the West Island since the closure of the Therm Park, including, I keep on adding an R in there. That's Therm, that's theme. Don't do that to my dyslexia. The Therm Park. So West Island since the closure of the theme park, including its flume ride in 2012. The Therm Group, that's horrible for my dyslexia. The Therm Group is planning for visitation numbers as high as 15,000 guests per day, with a yearly target of 5 million visitors. Okay, here's the thing about this. 15,000 guests per day? They have to close down. They had to close down Ontario Place for part of the year because of this thing that happens up here called winter. There's this thing. It's called winter. It happens every year. Although it's not as extreme as it used to be. It used to be real winters. But now. And so Ontario Place was actually closed for part of the year because, it's a water park. But also just walking around the grounds, going to the shops, seeing all the little attractions there. You don't do that in the winter. So I seriously doubt they're going to have 15,000 guests per day on January 16th. Not going to happen. Wow, that is a lot. There's no way. But that's what they're basing their money on, what they're investing in. And so they're justifying this 650 million on it with the idea of like, this is the revenue it's going to generate, when that's not even close to the revenue it's going to generate. And Ontario Place for All, Rob Ford's ex-chief of staff lobbying for Therm. It's a family fair, folks. A fair, folks. Yeah. Rob Ford's ex-chief of staff. Briefing. Who's lobbying for whom? The Therm registers to discuss Ontario Place plans. Therm Group RHTG GmbH was registered this past week by Tasnia Khan, a consultant with Amir Ramutella Incorporation, to collaborate with and provide briefings for Ontario's government officials on Therm Group's 350 million private sector investment in Ontario Place. So much corruption in the Doug Ford government. So beyond the pale. I don't understand how they're allowed to get away with the amount of corruption that they're doing so blatantly, because it's not just the Science Centre in Ontario Place. There's also the Greenbelt. That was a thing. That still is a thing. There's the new highway that they want to build over pristine land as well that won't do nearly anything that they claim it will. Again, it's just lining the pockets of his buddies. And then the expense of the Premier's office has skyrocketed. The way that they're spending, the deficit, like everyone keeps on saying, well, not everyone, but the Conservatives are always like, fiscal responsibility. That's why we like the Conservatives, when they are anything but. They are so wasteful. They are so greedy. They are so corrupt. Like they're just funneling taxpayer money into their own pockets. Like Doug Ford has so many deals going on. He's becoming probably rich beyond belief that we don't know about, that we don't see. And his buddies are becoming rich beyond belief that we don't know about and we don't see, because he hides a lot of that information. absolutely crazy corruption that's happening here that they're just constantly being allowed to get away with because, the opposition party, the NDP, has done a little bit when it comes to investigating, but they aren't nearly doing enough. And, like, where's the OPP on this? Where's the RCMP on this? Actually charging him with crimes. Like, our politicians shouldn't be allowed to get away with such blatant corruption.